Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside Podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Panther the Third. And man, George, man, tonight's going to be an interesting night, a really interesting night for this second week of podcast week, George. So
sweet.
Yeah. So
what do we got? Who's coming on? Is somebody good? I'm excited.
So I wanted to surprise you with this, George. With the second week of podcast week, I wanted to bring this person back. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to George from Straight Talk Wrestling. George, welcome back, brother.
So I'm going to co-host and interview myself?
No, you're the guest. You're the guest, George.
Oh, I'm the guest.
Yes, you're the guest.
Oh, so you couldn't get anybody else. So I'm just filling in. Oh.
Yeah. Well, everybody else was like,
everybody else is too busy, eh? That's what it was.
I kept getting all like the lady from for some reason, I guess she must have kept running to people's houses. The cleaning lady from the Family Guy. No, he don't hear. No, she don't hear. No. Even God Queen. Does she work with God Queen's castle, cleaning her castle? Like, no, she no here. No.
She no here. Nobody's there. Wow, incredible. Well, I guess I will be the stand-in, fill-in, whatever you need. I'm always glad to be back here, Joe. Thank you so much for bringing me back. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Like with podcast month, it's awesome to honor a podcast as awesome as Straight Talk Podcast. So my first question for you and your awesome podcast, like, what made you go into this world of podcasting? Like,
well, it's not like an exciting story. Like I had an epiphany or I met Chris Jericho outside of an arena or anything like that. It's honestly just real simple. Wrestling fan my whole life, and me and a friend of mine, we started up the podcast together. At first, it was just like a quick 15-minute Raw and SmackDown review. Then we started doing deep dives into like superstar profiles and stuff like that, and going into kind of behind the scenes. He was really obsessed with the, I guess, the collective of everything behind the curtain. Even though the curtain had been pulled back quite a lot, there's still a lot about the business side of sports entertainment that we don't know. So he wanted to dive deeper into that and talk about merch sales and how merch sales cause for pushes and such. And then we went into the interview side of stuff. And then when the interview side of stuff came in, it was pretty much just me. It was just me doing the interviews because he was rather unreliable. I'll be completely honest, to the point where it kind of became frustrating because we'd plan stuff and then he'd bail out last minute and I'd have to do the stuff solo and then I'd have to make excuses for him. And I got tired of being in two marriages. I had my marriage with my wife already. And now I have this other relationship that I really don't want to be somebody's enabler. So I came down to push, came to shove. Everything was kind of in my name already. All the stuff was through me. We were splitting the cost of everything, but everything was pretty much through me. And I just told him, I said, listen, it's all in my name. I'm going to take it and run with it and see how far this goes. And after the first 6 months or so, I took it myself. And here we are 7 years later, give or take, and going on close to 500 episodes now, which is pretty damn impressive considering we go week to week. And even before COVID, we weren't consistent because, again, the unreliability of my former co-host. But once COVID hit and I was able to take it over, I had taken it over for that time for about a year and a bit. But once COVID hit, I kind of made a promise to the Straight Talk family that I would be consistent as I possibly could and literally go week to week. And I got to say that it's been 5 years or 4 years now that I have never not released an episode every week. So I'm pretty proud of that promise that I was able to keep that. And that's kind of the boring cliche story. I wish there was more to it, but there really isn't. That's it.
I feel, all right, good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just feel like a bond with Straight Talking Dudes at Ringside. It's like when I first met you guys, it's like way back when. I think that was like 3 years ago when we first met. And I first met you and the mini host. Of course, all my fans are booing because she's, again, guys, she's got a life. She's a good person. Let her booing me.
She's got homework. She's got 2 tests coming up tomorrow. She got to study. It's schoolwork first, podcasting, and everything else second. That's just the way it is. 100%.
Send my love to mini host. Like, she's a good kid, and all the best to her, because I literally, when I see you guys pop on a notification, I could be on my break watching an old episode of Dudes at Ringside just to see what I said before. And I immediately click it, and I'm watching mini host. You got to tell her, Joe watches your interviews going, man, I remember that little mini host when she came on the show, and she became the spotlight. We could have just did this the whole show and just be like, all about mini host. Yeah. Like, she would have been like, yeah, forget about the Panther. Forget about that other guy. This is my show. The mini at ringside. They could have been mini at ringside the whole show.
Could have been. Absolutely could have been. Could have been for sure.
Well, her fans took like the security literally took the ringside crew and put us in the upper deck, and like our fans all went to the upper deck. We're like, why did we get demoted? Because the mini ringside crew like took over, and we're like, okay, your seats are really here. You guys never had the ringside seats or in the upper deck.
To be cliche, I mean, the dudes at Ringside Podcast fans just acknowledged her over you guys.
Yep.
That's just what it was.
They all had the one finger up. They were all like, oh gosh, many of us gonna be watching this going like this. Dad, really? You and Joe had to like it's a
like to take it there.
It all starts somewhere. Like, did you ever think that she would be following your footsteps and doing this like fun interviewing stuff?
It wasn't really the plan. The plan was that she always was very easy in front of the camera. She could light up a room with her personality, and it was just pretty much she wanted her own YouTube channel. And knowing how YouTube is, and knowing how the world is, and knowing how anyone can say whatever they want behind a keyboard, and people can be vicious because when they have this wall of protection in front of them, they think that they can just say whatever they want and get away with stuff. And I'm not about that. I'm not a person that condones bullying. I've had it. I've had people shit talk me, and I'm okay with that. I'm an adult. I can handle that to an extent. But this is a child, and I didn't want. First, I didn't want her to be stricken to the point where there would be any emotional damage to her, because I didn't want that. So my wife and I decided that maybe there's a way we could work her into straight talk, so I could keep an eye on everything. I could control everything. My wife could control her social media side of stuff, which she does a great job. And that's how we kind of just did it. And we just came up with something easy and simple. And it was like, we can do 3 count. We can do this. We can do that. It's like, you know what? Let's, instead of doing the typical, cliche things with wrestling, like, the 10 count or something like that, let's just do 5 questions. 5 real simple and easy questions. We'll make sure one of them is wrestling related, so we stay within the content. We'll interview wrestlers, and any other questions could be anything that she wants to ask, from, music, working out, that kind of stuff. And if you watch the first episodes, a lot of the questions were very much the same. How did you start in pro wrestling? What type of music do you like? What's your favorite food? Do you have a pet? Like, these were her simple, easy questions. But as she evolved and grew up, so did the questions. The questions became more and more knowledgeable. She put more behind the research than she was already doing. And she showed that she had no fear in asking the tough questions. Like, one of the proudest moments I had was when we interviewed Thunder Rosa, or she did. And there was all that rumors going around that Thunder Rosa was unhappy backstage at AEW and all this stuff, and that she wanted out of her contract. So there's my, 12-year-old daughter sitting next to Thunder Rosa, former AEW world champion, and just looks at her straight in the eyes and says, so there's been a lot of talk about you behind the scenes. You're unhappy at AEW. Do you want out of your contract? And it was just like, damn, she didn't hold back. She asked the question. And because this is, again, a kid, Thunder Rosa was more easier to take it than to say if a reporter was asking it. And she said, no, I'm not unhappy. I'm very happy behind the scenes. I love what I'm doing. I'm injured right now, but I'm going to come back. Yada, 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 so forth and so on. And as of last year, Mini Host kind of did take a step back from the podcast in not so much a full-time role. She decided that she wanted to focus on her studies and her schoolwork, which I'm totally all for. Plus, she's looking at getting a part-time job because she's at that age. So she wants to just take a step back, and she says she'd only want to come on every once in a while, sprinkle a little bit of speciality for the wrestling fans, and then she'll go off quietly again until there's somebody else that she wants to sit down with. And now that she has a reputation and I have a reputation and we've built this great brand together, a lot of names know us. A lot of names respect us. A lot of names know that We're not in there to throw shade. We're not in there to start drama. We're not in there to do any of that stuff. We're just simply in there to ask the questions. We ask the questions in the right ways. We may not get the answers that everyone's looking for, but we ask the questions that we want to know. We don't focus on any of the drama or any of the backstage dirt sheet stuff. We focus on the things we want to know. And Mustafa Ali came along. We asked him. He was gracious enough to give us time. My interview with him actually drops tomorrow. So take a look for that one on the Straight Talk YouTube page. But hers drops on Saturday, as we always do. And she was no fear. She asked those questions, what do you love TNA? Or how excited are you to be the X Division champion? And it's been great. She got picked up by a couple websites. Fightful shouted her out. 411 Mania shouted her out. So it was awesome to see her putting in the work and getting the rewards from that and getting the acknowledgement from the wrestling community that this is a young lady who is poised. If she decides she wants to stick with it, great. If not, then that's great. But over 100+ interviews for her, and she's never shied away. She's never looked nervous in any aspect of it. And she's interviewed some pretty big names, and she's had no fear from it at all, which is incredible.
You could tell her when she's done with her studies today, or whenever you see her, because she's the awesome person, so she probably has to come in a limo. You have to ding the doorbell she's
not coming in a limo. Stop feeding her ego, please. She's not coming in a limo.
It's gonna be the Alfred. It's gonna ding your phone.
Limo show, okay?
Yeah, Alfred's gonna ding the phone. You'd be like, "It's time for dinner," and she'll be like, "I'll be like, sorry, mini host is not available for you."
No, not at all, Joe. Stop these shenanigans right now. Stop making these claims, okay? She is a 14-year-old girl that climbs up and down the stairs herself. She's a 14-year-old that does her own laundry. She's a 14-year-old that empties and reloads the dishwasher. She is just any other kid. I don't have time for no limo. If you want to pay for the limo for her, Joe, that's on you. But I'm not paying for the limo. I'm not doing it, okay? All right?
Well, I had an idea. You could ask her, see if she would want to do this. Since, I'm a third-generation person with the grandfather that wrestled under Vince's dad. My cousin Pete Sanchez wrestled under, midsection until the 90s. And also my cousin Frank Martinez, the Blue Demon, which wrestled also within the WWE universe. I've been in this podcast game for 4 years now, 8 years on YouTube. If she ever wants to interview somebody that's a third generation that loves the 90s and 80s wrestling and likes to spit knowledge to the younger generation of YouTubers and people in the wrestling world, if she ever would like to interview me on her side of the thing, I would be absolutely honored. And I'd tell her again, I'm so proud of everything she has brought to the interviewing game. She is such an awesome, if there were kids that wanted to do this stuff, what kind of what kind of advice would you give to any other kids that are watching this show that would like to do what your daughter is doing right now?
Just the typical advice. Have fun. Make sure your parents are there to control and watch over the content. Do it for the sake of doing it because you love it. Don't do it because you're forced to or because you're hoping to get monetized and, make $1 billion off of this, because it's not. There are YouTube success stories, but not everybody's a YouTube success story. And a lot of those kid YouTubers that are now making a lot of money, they've switched over to doing OnlyFans and stuff like that to survive. So let's not go down that route. But just do it because you love it. Do it because you enjoy it. It doesn't even have to be wrestling. It could be anything. You could interview, musicians. You can interview comedians. You can interview anybody you wanted to. You can interview politicians. You can do whatever floats your boat at the end of the day. But as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying it and there's no extra added pressure, the minute it becomes work, it stops becoming fun. And even though we all put in this podcasting game, we all put in work. We put in work, but we're still having fun. And that's the key thing. If it stops being fun, then don't do it anymore. But as long as it's fun, you're having fun doing it, all the power to you. Just find a way to be you and always be proud of being you. Don't ever change for anyone or because somebody suggested it or because somebody, tells you that they're better than you. And go solo. I would recommend that. Go solo or do it with your parents, because this is a lot like a marriage. When you're in this with someone else, when you're in this with a co-host or a partner, it becomes very trying because you have different ideas of how you see this thing going. You have different visions. You have different, personalities, and sometimes they clash and you end up losing friends because of podcasting. So I would say just err on the side of caution, go solo and have fun.
So George, we've talked about this before, and I'll say it again. Have you guys ever thought of like coming to the States and like coming to any indie shows on this side of the river, like in the States? Like,
We absolutely have. Problem is that her passport is expired, so we're working on getting that finished because I have to go to Jamaica this November for a friend's wedding, so we're gonna get that sorted out. But we have thought about it. It's just in terms of time, in terms of logistic, in terms of shows and stuff like that, because I work a full-time job, she's in school. The summer is my busy season at work, so it's hard to take vacation during the summer. And then the winter, like I said, she's in school and stuff like that. So it is difficult. But the plan is to eventually try to hit one or two spots if we can over the next couple of years. But we're so busy over here with all the great talent that comes over here and all the great talent that is over here in Canada. And now I'm affiliated with 3 different promotions, calling the play-by-play and the commentary stuff, which has been awesome. Been doing that for about a year and a half now. Destiny World Wrestling, which is fantastic. Battle Arts Wrestling, which is amazing. HWE, which is amazing, and New Frontier Pro Wrestling. So I'm affiliated with all those fantastic promotions. I am the color commentary for all of those promotions, and it's been a wild ride. So a lot of the weekends are either going to shows here or working shows here. So it's been an exciting, exhausting, very trying time, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
I suggest if you ever come toward like Pennsylvania, there's a promotion you definitely should come to Mini Host. It's called PPW. It's out of Slatington, Pennsylvania. I don't know, you probably see me posting them in my story or posting them on the Dudes page.
Absolutely.
Awesome content. They have Danny Moe and Fasaz. They're two. You guys both would love Danny Moe. Bright neon colors, and Fasad comes out with the Ninja Turtle theme. You know, like that song by Go Ninja, the Go Ninja song. Oh my God. He's so awesome. The Neon Blondes, that's what they call themselves. The Neon Blondes. They've had some good, awesome wrestlers. Like I'm like every time I get a chance, I tell the God Queen, please come to PBW. I want to see you come. I need a Danny Moe versus God Queen. And I'm totally turned on. I love you, Danny Moe, but God Queen, that's the God Queen. Sorry, heel turn. Joe's turning heel. Sorry, I respect the God Queen.
You can't be a heel, man. You smile too much. You can't be a heel.
I could be the Bobby the Brain Heenan. I got the cool jacket. I'd be like, oh, sorry. High five me. Whoopsie.
Yeah, but again, Bobby the Brain Heenan, the best thing about Bobby the Brain Heenan was you enjoyed seeing him get slapped. I don't want you to get slapped, man.
These glasses they're like old school. I went to my retros today. The no lens.
And that's fine, but still, Bobby the Brain Heenan, he got slapped all the time, man. Are you willing to get slapped consistently?
I've thought about maybe like going into training and taking a slap by a female wrestler, but I'm afraid my jaw will get disconnected from my body.
I feel like that's probably a safe bet, man. I feel like that's a safe.
So, before we go, is there any like stuff going on within you guys? Any shows coming up? What do you have coming up on the horizon for Straight Talk?
Well, we got a couple of great interviews coming up. Like I said, Mustafa Ali is dropping very shortly. We finally got one of the try to get since I started, which was Kevin Blackwood. Got Kevin Blackwood coming down the pipe. Got a lot of great indie talent coming down the pipe as well. Alexia Nicole returning, Mark Wheeler returning, El Reverso returning. So keep an eye out for all those amazing conversations that are coming down the pipe. And if you want to check out any of my commentary stuff, check out Destiny World Wrestling on YouTube. There's a couple of the shows that they've had up there, a couple of matches, which has been awesome. I got to call a Matt Cardona match a couple shows back, which was fantastic. And I'm getting to call Matt Riddle in May. Also got Subculture coming in like 2 weeks, which will be awesome. April 14th, so keep an eye out for that. And then HWE and Battle Arts, like this, the commentary stuff. But April is pretty busy. May is crazy. June is insane. And beyond that, it's just keeping the content consistent, keeping the content fun, and doing everything we do over at Straight Talk. And if you want to see our journey, Straight Talk Wrestling everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, it's @_Straight Talk. But everywhere else, it's Straight Talk Wrestling. So
awesome. George, I want to thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. Even though I kind of thought we were going to get somebody, but then I kept getting the maid from this Family Guy. I was like, does this lady have like a plane? Like, how does she get to everybody's house?
You could have just asked me. You could have just said to me, hey, man, can you come back on the show? You didn't have to tell me, hey, I need a co-host for this interview. And then you just blindside me with that I'm the guest. I feel like what you did was shady, sir.
Oh,
I feel like what you did was I mean, I enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking, but I feel like you could have just said to me, "Hey, George, man, listen, I the co-host thing it fell through, but could you come on and be a guest?" And I would have been fine with it. Just be honest, Joe. Just be honest.
I admit it. I'm sorry, George. Just wanted to surprise you with a present, but then you threw the box and threw it down on the
This
floor.
is the present is myself. I am the present,
It's a cake with your face in it, like this.
and that is
The cool picture you like this.
that is the cheapest present I've ever received in my life.
But the cake was made by my mom. My mom knows how to really make cakes.
Oh, now he throws out the mom. See, that's not cool. You can't just
My
throw out the
mom was proud to make a cake.
I'm honored that your mom made a cake with out of everyone in the world, she put my face on said cake. I appreciate that.
And we put their favorite stuff in the middle and everything, George, man.
Cookies and cream filling. Cookies and cream filling. Is that what it was?
Cream filling was delicious. I had to take a little it wasn't. I'm sorry. I avoided baby Slimer to even get near it. But like if you see there's green slime in the box, I'm sorry.
Is it FedExing overnight? I'll get the cake tomorrow. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you may have a green friend in the box. I haven't seen baby Slimer in like a few weeks. So
I'm all up for that. I'm up for that.
If it's like a slimy box and you open it, it's a big slimy thing burping as you open the box. You have a new friend.
Great. Great.
Yeah, he's not here.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome.
I'm Joe Panther III.
I'm George Mackay from Straight Talk Wrestling.
And we will catch you in the next